My wife said I had to let her boyfriend move into our guest room, so I helped him unpack. Vanessa told me at breakfast while I was reading the news on my phone. Trevor's moving into the guest room this weekend and you're going to help him with his furniture. I put my phone down and looked at her. She was wearing Trevor's college hoodie, the one from the university I'd paid for her to attend before we met. Trevor, I said. Your personal trainer, Trevor. She nodded and took a bite of toast. He got evicted from his apartment, and I told him he could stay here temporarily. You don't mind, right? I felt my chest get tight, but I kept my voice level. How long is temporarily? She shrugged. However long it takes, maybe a few months. He's between jobs right now. I watched her face and saw no shame, no hesitation. Nothing but expectation that I'd just accept this. When did you two start sleeping together? I asked. Her eyes went cold. That's none of your business. We have an open marriage now, remember? I told you that last month. I did remember. She'd announced it one night after coming home at 3 a.m, smelling like someone else's cologne. I never agreed to an open marriage, I said quietly. You announced it. There's a difference. Vanessa stood up from the table and her chair scraped against the floor. Well, you didn't say no, did you? And you certainly didn't file for divorce when I gave you the option. So Trevor's moving in this Saturday, and you're going to be a good host and help him get settled. She walked out of the kitchen, and I heard her bedroom door slam. Her bedroom. We'd stopped sharing a room 3 weeks ago when she said my snoring bothered her. I pulled out my phone and texted my attorney. She wants to move her boyfriend into our house. I'm going to let her. Start documenting everything. Greg responded immediately. This is exactly what we need. Get everything on camera, every conversation, every interaction. North Carolina fault-based divorce laws are about to work in your favor. I smiled at my phone. Vanessa had no idea what she'd just done. Saturday came, and Trevor showed up in a moving truck he'd rented. He was exactly what I expected. Mid-20s, muscles everywhere, the kind of guy who probably couldn't spell his own last name. I met him in the driveway with a smile. Trevor, right? I'm Dan. Let me help you with those boxes. He looked confused. You're cool with this? I grabbed the heaviest box and started toward the house. My wife made her decision. I'm just trying to keep the peace. That wasn't true at all, but he didn't need to know that. I'd already installed 3 hidden cameras in the guest room, 2 in the hallway, and 1 in the living room. Every device was legal since it was my house, and I wasn't recording in bathrooms or other private spaces. Greg had made sure I understood the laws perfectly. Trevor followed me inside, and I showed him to the guest room. Vanessa wanted you to have the room with the best view, I said. Another lie. I'd specifically chosen this room because it had the best camera angles. Vanessa came home from her yoga class and found us arranging furniture. She kissed Trevor on the mouth right in front of me, her hand sliding down his back. See? I knew Dan would be mature about this. He understands that our marriage is evolved now. Trevor still looked uncomfortable. Babe, are you sure this is okay? I mean, I can find another place. Vanessa laughed and wrapped her arms around his waist. Don't be silly. Dan doesn't care. Do you, Dan? I smiled at them both. I care about whatever makes you happy, Vanessa. I pulled out my phone and took a picture of them embracing in our house. Let me get a photo for your Instagram. You two look perfect together. She actually posed for it. Trevor's discomfort grew, but Vanessa was glowing. She had no idea I was building a case file that would destroy her in court. That night, they had dinner together in the dining room while I ate in my office. I could hear them laughing, hear the sound of chairs moving closer together, hear everything. My recording devices caught it all. The first week was hard. I'd wake up and hear them in the guest room through the walls. Vanessa stopped trying to hide anything. She'd make breakfast for Trevor and ignore me completely. She'd do his laundry and fold his clothes while mine sat in the hamper. One morning, I came downstairs and found them kissing against the refrigerator. Good morning, I said cheerfully. They jumped apart. Vanessa's face flushed, but not with shame, with irritation that I'd interrupted them. Can you give us a minute? She asked. I grabbed my coffee and left, but not before my hidden camera caught Trevor's hand inside her robe. Greg reviewed the footage that afternoon. This is perfect. Keep being the cooperative husband. Every day she does this, she's helping your case. North Carolina law is very clear about marital misconduct. When we get to court, she's not getting a penny of alimony, and we're going to argue for you to keep the house since she's essentially abandoned the marriage. 2 weeks in, Trevor started to change. He began talking to me more, asking questions about how I was handling everything. One night, when Vanessa was out with friends, he came into the living room where I was watching television. "Can I ask you something?" he said. I muted the TV. "Sure." He sat down on the opposite couch. "How are you so okay with this? If my wife brought another guy into our house, I'd lose my mind." I looked at him carefully. "Vanessa made a choice. I'm dealing with it the only way I know how." Trevor shook his head. "Man, I don't know if I could do that. This whole situation feels wrong." I almost felt bad for him. He was young, stupid, and being used by my wife just as much as she thought she was using me. "How did you two meet?" I asked. He rubbed the back of his neck. "At the gym where I work. She started training with me 6 months ago. Things just kind of happened." 6 months. So she'd been cheating for half a year before announcing the open marriage. "Did she tell you she was married when you met?" I asked. Trevor's face changed. "She said you guys were separated, that you were just roommates finishing out a lease." I nodded slowly. "That's interesting, because we've been living as a married couple this entire time. In fact, we went to her company Christmas party together 5 months ago. I have the photos." Trevor went pale. "She told me that was her brother." I pulled out my phone and showed him the picture. Vanessa and I dancing, my arm around her waist, both of us smiling at the camera. The caption read, "Best night with my beautiful wife." Trevor stared at the screen for a long time. "She's been lying to me." I put my phone away. "She's been lying to both of us, but I'm handling it my way." He stood up and went back to the guest room without another word. I heard them arguing later that night. Vanessa's voice was sharp, insisting she'd told him the truth. Trevor's voice was confused, hurt, demanding answers. The cameras caught every word. By week 3, the house was a war zone. Vanessa and Trevor fought constantly. She'd yell at him for questioning her. He'd yell back that she'd lied about her marriage. I stayed out of it, maintaining my calm, helpful persona. I'd offer Trevor coffee in the morning, ask how he slept, make small talk about his job search. Vanessa hated it. She wanted me to fight, to show emotion, to give her a reason to paint me as the bad guy. Instead, I was the picture of a supportive husband whose wife had taken a lover, and he was just trying to keep the peace. Our friends started noticing. Jessica, Vanessa's best friend from college, came over for lunch one afternoon. She found Trevor sleeping on the couch in his boxers at 2 p.m. "Who is that?" she asked Vanessa. "That's Trevor. He's staying with us for a while." Jessica's face went white. "Staying with you? Vanessa, what are you doing?" Vanessa laughed. "Dan and I have an open marriage now. It's very modern." Jessica looked at me. "Dan, is this true?" I smiled sadly. Vanessa made her decision. "I'm just trying to keep our home peaceful." Jessica pulled Vanessa into the kitchen, and I heard them arguing in harsh whispers. "Are you insane? You're flaunting your affair in your husband's face? In his house?" Vanessa's voice was defensive. "It's my house, too. And Dan doesn't care. Look at him. He's fine with it." Jessica's voice rose. "He's not fine with it. He's documenting everything, you idiot. I know Dan. He doesn't just accept things. He plans." I heard cabinet doors slamming. "You're paranoid. Dan's too weak to do anything. He hasn't even mentioned divorce." Jessica's footsteps came back into the living room. She looked at me with something that might have been pity or respect. "Dan, I'm sorry. You deserve better than this." Then she left without saying goodbye to Vanessa. That night, I sent Jessica a text thanking her for her honesty. She responded with 3 words: "Destroy her legally." I sent her a smiley face. She knew exactly what I was doing, and she approved. Month 2 began, and Trevor started spending more time talking to me than to Vanessa. He'd come home from his new job at a gym across town and find me in the kitchen. We'd talk about sports, about his family, about his plans for the future. Vanessa hated it. She'd interrupt our conversations, demand Trevor's attention, pull him away to the guest room. But something had shifted in him. He'd started asking me questions about the house, about how long I'd owned it, about whether Vanessa's name was on the deed. "Just mine," I told him honestly. I bought it 3 years before we got married. It's never been jointly owned. Trevor nodded slowly. So she can't kick you out? I smiled. No, she can't. He looked at me and I saw understanding start to dawn. You're playing a game here, aren't you? This whole nice guy thing is an act. I didn't confirm or deny it. I'm protecting my interests. That's all. Trevor went quiet for a long moment. She used me. She told me you were basically divorced, that you'd agreed to split everything amicably. Now I'm living in your house, sleeping with your wife, and you're just collecting evidence. I looked at him directly. Do you love her? He hesitated. I thought I did, but she's not who I thought she was. She lied about everything. About you, about your marriage, about why she needed me to move in here. I leaned back in my chair. Why do you think she insisted you move in? It wasn't because you got evicted. She wanted to humiliate me. She wanted to prove she had power in this marriage, but she forgot one important thing. North Carolina has very specific laws about fault in divorce. Adultery affects everything from alimony to property division. Every day you're here, every time she chooses you over her marriage vows, she's building my case. Trevor's face went pale. I'm part of your evidence. I nodded. You're a witness. And if you're willing to testify about how long the affair has been going on, about the lies she told you to manipulate you into this situation, that would be very helpful. He stood up and walked out. I didn't know if he'd help me or run. I'd find out soon enough. Vanessa came home from work the next day and found me in the living room reviewing documents. What are you doing? She demanded. I looked up. Just some financial planning. Making sure everything's organized. Her eyes narrowed. What kind of financial planning? I smiled. The kind where I figure out what I'm entitled to when a marriage ends. Did you know North Carolina recognizes alienation of affection claims? If I can prove Trevor deliberately interfered with our marriage, I could sue him for damages. But honestly, I think he's just a pawn you manipulated. Her face went red. You can't sue Trevor. He didn't do anything wrong. I set down my papers. Neither did I, Vanessa. But here we are, your boyfriend living in my house, you sleeping with him under my roof, me being the model of restraint and patience. She realized her mistake then. I could see it in her eyes. You've been recording us. I didn't answer. This whole time, you've been gathering evidence. I still didn't answer. She grabbed her purse. I'm calling my lawyer. I nodded. Good. Tell them about Trevor. About how long he's been living here. About how you brought your affair partner into your marital home and expected your husband to just accept it. I'm sure they'll love that story. Vanessa's attorney called me the next morning. His name was Richard Kowalski, and his tone was carefully professional. Mr. Fleming, my client tells me you've been recording conversations in your home without consent. I smiled even though he couldn't see it. North Carolina is a one-party consent state for recordings. Since it's my home and I'm party to the situation, everything I've recorded is perfectly legal. My attorney confirmed it. There was silence on the other end. My client also informs me that she wishes to file for divorce. I felt a weight lift off my chest. Perfect. I've been waiting for her to make that decision. My attorney will send over my counterfiling within the week. We're pursuing fault-based divorce on grounds of adultery. I have extensive documentation of her affair, including her affair partner living in our marital home for the past 8 weeks. I'm seeking full ownership of the house, no alimony, and division of assets that reflects her marital misconduct. Richard's voice changed. Mr. Fleming, those are aggressive terms. I leaned back in my chair. Your client brought her boyfriend to live in my house. She flaunted her affair in front of our friends and family. She told people we had an open marriage without my consent or agreement. Aggressive is the only appropriate response. The phone went silent for several seconds. I'll need to review the evidence you claim to have. I smiled. My attorney will provide everything during discovery. Videos, photos, text messages, witness statements. It's all meticulously documented. Richard hung up without another word. Greg called me an hour later laughing. Richard Kowalski just called me. He's panicking. He asked if we'd consider a settlement where Vanessa walks away with her personal belongings and nothing else. I felt satisfaction wash over me. What did you tell him? Greg's voice was gleeful. I told him we'd consider it after we depose Trevor and get his testimony about how long the affair has been going on and what lies Vanessa told him. Richard actually groaned on the phone. He knows his client is screwed. I ended the call and found Trevor in the kitchen. Vanessa's filing for divorce. Her attorney wants to settle. Trevor looked relieved. Does that mean I can leave? I nodded. Whenever you want. You were never a prisoner here. But I need to ask you something. Will you give a deposition about the affair? About what Vanessa told you? Trevor sat down at the kitchen table. She told me you guys were basically divorced, that you were just roommates. She said you'd both agreed to see other people and you were totally fine with it. She made it sound like you were dating other women too. I pulled out my phone and showed him my calendar. I haven't been on a single date since I married Vanessa. I work, I come home. I've been watching my wife have an affair in my house. There are no other women. Trevor put his head in his hands. I'm 26 years old. I thought I was dating a separated woman who was getting divorced. She told me living here was temporary until the divorce went through. She said you'd already agreed to split everything 50-50, and this was just about waiting out a legal requirement. I sat down across from him. There is no legal requirement. She was lying to keep you around. I think she got some kind of thrill out of making me watch. Trevor looked up. I'll give your lawyer whatever he needs. Dates, conversations, everything. She manipulated both of us. Trevor moved out that afternoon. He packed his things and left without saying goodbye to Vanessa. When she came home and found his room empty, she screamed. Actually screamed like someone had died. She called him 50 times. He didn't answer. She called me at work demanding to know what I'd said to him. I told him the truth, Vanessa, that we were never separated. That I never agreed to an open marriage. That you'd been lying to him about our situation. She started crying. Real tears for the first time since this whole nightmare started. You turned him against me. He loved me. I kept my voice calm. He loved who he thought you were. Once he realized you'd been lying to him for 6 months, he made his own decision. She hung up on me. That night I came home to an empty house. Vanessa was gone. She'd packed her clothes, her jewelry, everything personal. She left a note on the kitchen counter. You win. Take everything. I'm staying with my mother. I photographed the note and sent it to Greg. She's abandoned the marital home. This gets better every day. The deposition happened 3 weeks later. Trevor sat across from Vanessa's attorney and my attorney and told them everything. The affair started 6 months before she announced the open marriage. She'd told him I was abusive and controlling, that I refused to give her a divorce, that living in the house was her way of establishing separate residency for legal purposes. She'd shown him fake text messages between us where I supposedly agreed to see other people. She'd created an entire false narrative to justify her affair and manipulate him into moving in. Richard Kowalski looked physically ill as Trevor spoke. Every word out of Trevor's mouth destroyed whatever defense strategy he'd been building. When the deposition ended, Richard asked to speak with Greg privately. They came back an hour later with a settlement proposal. Vanessa would waive all rights to alimony, agree to a 60-40 split of marital assets in my favor, and pay her own legal fees. In exchange, I wouldn't pursue alienation of affection claims against Trevor and wouldn't make the videos public. I reviewed the proposal with Greg in his office. She's desperate. If this goes to trial, she loses everything. The videos of her and Trevor in your house, his testimony about her lies, the documented manipulation. A judge would crucify her. I thought about it. What about the house? Greg smiled. The house was yours before marriage. It stays yours completely. That's not even negotiable under North Carolina law. I signed the settlement, not because I felt mercy for Vanessa, but because dragging this through trial would cost me time and money I'd rather spend rebuilding my life. The divorce was finalized 8 weeks later. Vanessa didn't attend the hearing. Her attorney appeared on her behalf and signed everything. I walked out of that courthouse a free man, with my house, my dignity, and my bank account mostly intact. The judge had been particularly harsh when reviewing the case file. She'd actually said from the bench that bringing an affair partner to live in the marital home was one of the most egregious examples of marital misconduct she'd seen in 30 years of family law. 6 months later, I ran into Jessica at a coffee shop. She hugged me immediately. I heard about the divorce. I'm so sorry it came to that, but I'm glad you protected yourself. I ordered my coffee, and we sat down together. How is she doing? I asked, not because I cared, but because I was curious. Jessica's face hardened. She's miserable. She's living with her mother in a one-bedroom apartment. She lost her job because word got around about what she did. Trevor wants nothing to do with her. She tried to get back on dating apps, but everyone in town knows the story now. I felt no satisfaction in hearing it, just emptiness where anger used to be. And Trevor? Jessica smiled slightly. He's doing better. He got a job at a nice gym. He's dating someone his own age. He learned his lesson about getting involved with married women. I nodded. Good for him. He was a pawn in her game just as much as I was. Jessica reached across and squeezed my hand. You were never a pawn, Dan. You were a chess master playing 3 moves ahead while she thought she was winning. I sold the house a year after the divorce finalized. Too many bad memories soaked into the walls. I bought a smaller place across town, started dating again, focused on my career. Vanessa tried to contact me once through Facebook. A long message about how sorry she was, how she'd made terrible choices, how she hoped I could forgive her someday. I read it once and deleted it without responding. Some things don't deserve acknowledgement. I heard through mutual friends that she eventually moved to another state to escape the reputation she'd built here. That her mother had to loan her money to make the move. That she'd burned every bridge and alienated everyone who'd once cared about her. I felt nothing hearing those updates. Not satisfaction, not pity, nothing. She was someone I used to know who made choices that destroyed her own life, and I'd simply refused to let her destroy mine in the process. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.